Ever heard of the Druidic Jesus, hu-hesus? If you look him up, you will see he is a minor Druidic god, known as the son of the creator being Lugh, the sun god. However, a deep exploration of the remarkable Druidic lore reveals that the son, hu-hesus of Lugh, has an age of 33 years, after which he is reborn. Recorded history from Greeks like Strabo in 64 BCE document this sun deity named hu-hesus a whole 64 years prior to the Roman subject, Jesus, who very similarly is associated with the zodiac and had a known age of 33 at the time of death. So, who came first? The Celtic Druid, son of the creator, hu-hesus, or the Roman subject, son of God, Jesus? Part 1. The secret Druidic Jesus, hu-hesus, and the true master of the multiverse. In 64 BCE, Sicilian Greek Strabo documented the existence of a real-life Celtic Druid invited to speak in Athens. This Celtic Druid, one of the rarest documented instances of this highly secretive priestly class from the Gauls, present-day Ireland, was a leader of the highest order amongst the Irish Druids, a man named Arabis. One of just a few documented Celtic Druids in recorded history, Arabis regaled the Greek halls with the Druidical teachings that speculated on the nature of reality. Arabis described the order of the cosmos as a multiverse with 3 planes of existence: Abred, symbolizing the earth; Gwynbleidd, symbolizing the sun; and Seogant, symbolizing the galactic sphere. Humanity resides on the outermost plane, and by applying a naked eye approach, meaning what you see is what you get, the Druids speculated upon the nature of earthly reality, creating natural sciences based on naked eye approaches to astronomy, the seasons, harvests, plant and animal life, even the use of sound waves for acoustic levitation, with which such famed Druids like Merlin, as legend says, levitated the stones that built Stonehenge. These Druidical studies became known as the Bardics, a collection of speculative sciences with a naked eye approach to accepting what you see as it is, thereby understanding its hidden dynamics to then, for example, create a pressure difference that balances gravity, thereby floating an object in a standing wave pattern, allowing stones that weigh tons to be moved effortlessly. This distinction surprised the Greeks like Strabo, the Sicilian, and the Romans, whose philosophy was the opposite, as it speculated on the nature of man, the denial of said nature, and how to control that nature with brute force. The Druidic Bardics encouraged a hands-off, naked eye approach to observations of nature, accepting nature as it is without human interference or manipulation, to know how to nurture that nature. Humans on the Abred earthly plane, to the Druid, represented a nature to be nurtured, not controlled. Every human is a microcosm of the multiverse, and that superintelligence that governs the multiverse is not confined to human standards. So, to the Druid, to understand oneself, one had to look outside oneself, because the answers were not within. They were above, in the stars. And the Druidical naked eye approach to observations of space and time made them astute sky gazers, who transformed their societies in the Celtic Gauls of Ireland from children lost in space to masters of the multiverse. Applying their naked eye approach to the stars revealed overlapping sun and moon cycles, each based on 13 sign orders, which meet on eclipses that are predictable and fixed, meaning every eclipse by up to 26,000 years and beyond can be known. That is, if you were a Druid. In the Druidic pantheon of gods, the ancient name of the Irish Gaul sun god was hu-hesus, or simply Jesus, and identified as the first branch of the oak tree, the Druidic symbol for life. Jesus represented to the Druids the spiritual ethos of the Creator, Lug, the mighty sun god, and Jesus was called the son of the Creator, Jesus Gadarn. Jesus lives for 33 years, after which he is reborn. The spirituality and ethos of a son of the Creator called Jesus, who is reborn every 33 years, is historically documented by the Greeks as a Druidic god, a good 64 years before the Roman subject, Jesus. In fact, millions of standing stones erect to this day in honor of the Druidic sun god Jesus stand as proof of this astute, sky-gazing mastery of the Druidic Multiverse we all live in, the most prominent of which is Stonehenge. What should we make of all these Druidical occult secrets revealed of the Bardis, the Druidic Jesus, and the Druidic Multiverse? Part 2. The Druidic Speculations of Nature in Harmony with Nature. For the Druids, the ultimate reality was not to be understood by going within oneself, but by speculating on the nature of reality outside oneself, and thereby one finds their place in the grand mosaic of the multiverse. Then, like magic, one awakens to who they really are. The search for the answers to life's questions turned the Druidic gaze to the dance-off between the sun and moon, each of which carves out a 13-sign division to the heavenly firmament. Each 13-sign division carved by the moon and sun were subject to Druidic scrutiny, and further associated with a tree, a symbol, and gods for each lunar and solar month. For example, the Druids knew and calculated the moon's precise 19.00011 year-long lunation cycle, or the time it takes for it to return back to the same zodiacal degree. Likewise, the Druids knew the sun's 33.00004 year-long cycle to return to the same zodiac degree upon the exact same time of day, down to the hour, minutes, and seconds. A sun cycle the Druids called hu-hesus, whose age or zodiacal cycle was 33 years long. In fact, 33 followed by a point, then 4 zeros and a 4, which, if you are a loyal viewer of this channel, you know are numbers steeped in coded meaning. The mere fact the Druids calculated these sun and moon values beyond the 100th or second value after the decimal point is mind-blowing. While respecting each sun and moon division separately, the Druids also combined them, called an intercalary system, which they did by combining them into one synchronous year by adding a 13th month, which magically matched and reconciled them, and kept them in track with the seasonal changes marked by each. An intercalary sun and moon 13-month calendar became the backbone of the Druidic cosmos, through which one could understand their own special place in all of it, with 13 lunar and solar months assigned dates, degrees, a tree, symbology, and gods. These 13 heavenly divisions formed the basis of the Ogham alphabet, the ancient Irish writing system created by Ogma, one of the Tuatha De Danann, which he derived from the flower of life symbol, where each of the spheres represents a quality of the nature of reality, and the lines of an Ogham intersect through these circles to symbolize ideas woven together into a new one. The Ogham hold a remarkable body of tree lore, as each is associated with a tree and were used for divination. Objectively, the Irish Druids developed a system of speculative sciences and a written language to explore those sciences in harmony with the renewable and magical energies of nature, so unique. They seemingly developed independent and free of the rest of global society, in particular, the Greeks and Romans. Part 3. The Druidical Seeds Rooted in Space. From children lost in space to masters of the multiverse. According to the Hyperborean Tuatha De Danann, the Druids traced the roots of their identity to the ancient megalithic building peoples, similar to the ancient Egyptians, Mexicans, and Peruvians. This druidical link to the ancient megalith builders lies at the heart of their pantheon of gods, amongst whom are women, goddesses, and druidesses, whose status as warriors who fought equal to men on the battlefield is legendary, like the very mother of the gods herself, Dana, also called Danu and Anu, similar to the Anunnaki god. And she is the mother of all the gods, and her children are the Tuatha De Danann, the children of Dana. The Hyperborean Tuatha De Danann further reveals the link to ancient people from space who shined like light, called the Arya, and taught the Irish people of Ireland or Arya-land the secret wisdom of the space-time reality, teaching them the mathematics and secret relationships between the stars, the elements, the hidden forces like gravity, and the biological capabilities of a studied master, like being capable of acoustic levitation. As the Druid apprentice climbed the ladder from novice or bard to intermediate hu-hesus, then master Druid, the learned master could use their combined knowledge of the stars, mathematics, the trees, the elements, the signs, and planets to invoke dark mists, raise storms, bring showers of fire and brimstone from the sky, levitate stones, and all through the unifying theories of the ancient shamanic powers of the Druids, who applied a naked eye approach to reality, not to manipulate it, but to nurture its nature. These teachings were passed from Master Druid to apprentice bard in a cave, where the darkness was meant to heighten the memory of the Druid, as the knowledge was passed mysteriously from one person to another, very much like this channel, with my faceless and voice-obscured methodology. Your mind becomes more sharpened to analyze knowledge when its source is mysterious, and if the source is abundant with wise guidance, then you become a voice for that information, a new source. Knowledge, thus, becomes unbiased and analyzed by the sharpest blades of reason. Further, caves are womb-like, and in their femininity, the Druids were honoring their mother of the gods, Dana. Women, equally as men, underwent the same development from bards to druidesses, as made evident in the fact that druidesses and Celtic goddesses play as fundamental and architectural roles in Irish society as their masculine counterparts. And it may even be that the druidess herself is indeed more ancient and foundational. Caves throughout ancient cultures provided a means for sharing the highest wisdom under obscured guises of anonymity to then sharpen the blades of reason, like the Greek Pythagoras and Jehoshua, the historical Jesus in his Petra rock temple. In the Druid cave, the apprentice bard or bardess gained the knowledge to cut the veils that obscure reality in order to see the light that takes them outside of the cave of ignorance, a light they called hu-hesus, the son of the creator, Lugh, the sun god. hu-hesus, the Druidic Jesus, Recorded in history a good 64 years prior to the Roman subject, Jesus was one of a pantheon of gods, like his father Lugh, but all born from Dana or Anu, who seeded life on earth and the Druidic society of ancient Celtic Ireland. Part 4. A Sea of Red, when the Catholics committed another ethnic cleansing. Again. In no less than 500 years after a Arabic spoke in Athens, all traces of the Druids would be erased, and the Bardists outlawed and censored by the Roman Catholics, who, under the leadership of St. Patrick, drove out all the snakes from Ireland, code word for Druid and any Celtic traces of their existence. Ireland never had any snakes due to its geography and climate, so when St. Patrick drove them all out, we must interpret it plainly as the Catholics under St. Patrick exterminated a whole class and group of people, specifically a fiery, bright, orange-haired group of people, the Tuatha De Danann, and slaughtered their existence off the face of the earth. In other words, a genocide. Each and every St. Patrick's Day is an in-your-face ethnic cleansing celebration of genocide, a la Gaza. If I were Irish, I would hate Catholics, but I am Mexican, so I still hate Catholics, because the Mexican native people share the exact same story of genocide and erasure by retarded Catholics who believe in things like lakes of hell and a Jewish god called Yahweh. In the name of that made-up divinity for mind-controlling the masses, the world lost touch with the truth. Mexicans and Irish still have more in common than just that. In fact, when Americans rejected the Irish and the Irish could find no jobs in America, many went to Mexico. The Mexicans and Irish found they had a lot more in common than with Americans, like big families. There would be no such thing like a taco de papa, or potato taco, which is a Mexican staple, if it weren't for the Irish bringing the potato to Mexico, where the Mexicans mashed it, put it in their tortillas, fried it, and dressed it up with salsas. The Irish loved it, and less than 100 years later, you have Mexicans who look like Canelo, the famous internationally titled Mexican boxer, and red-haired, Irish-looking people are everywhere in Mexico. Still yet, tacos de papa are not the only thing Mexicans and Irish share in common. Their megalith-building ancestors both used naked eye approaches to speculate the nature of reality, and came up with the same lunar and solar 13-sign divisions, the mathematically same intercalary systems, and both were megalith-building cultures. Both were also eradicated by the same Roman Catholic religion, and both were labeled as snake or serpent people by said Roman Catholics to legitimize their genocides. In place of their fact-based 13-sign lunar and solar divisions of the heavens, nowadays, the modern world is drifted away from the truth and into the 12-sign division, which has no basis on reality, a 12-month calendar with no rhyme or reason, much less a relationship to nature. The Roman Catholics literally took the truth and by definition retarded it and eradicated the cultures who not only knew the truth, but developed their civilizations and people with it. We may think these ancient people no longer exist, but I assure you they do. They exist in us today. We are their children, and even if you hold just 5% of their genetics in you, those genes came from those ancestors. Those ancestors are not erased, so no matter how hard they try, the truth and its genetic roots will never be erased. The truth is, there are 13 sign divisions carved out by the sun and moon. They coincide on eclipses, and no matter how hard they try to impose their 12 sign lie on us, the 13 sign divisions of the heavens are rooted in life on earth, because any child of earth who gazes at the heavens with a naked eye will find on their own the 13 sign divisions of the heavens carved out independently by the sun and moon, separately from each other, but as true as the breath is needed to live. The eyes do not lie, nor do the stars, and the answers are found outside of one. So if you find the 13th sign division of the heavens on your own, consider yourself a druid or druidess, or rather, a bard or bardess on their way to being a druid or druidess, because the next steps would be using the elements and the stars to summon rain and manipulate the weather. If you are curious to see how I do it, check out this video where I share how I curated my water temple and very easily call rain to my home here in Tucson, Arizona, where it has rained very generously for the last 5 years since I planted it. One important requisite to this druidic power is activating your chakras, because a cornerstone to druidry is knowing your relationship with the planets and the 13 signs, and chakras are just another name for the planets inside of us. Saturn is the first red ray, Pluto the second orange, the Sun the third yellow, Venus the fourth green, Mercury the fifth turquoise, Neptune the sixth blue, and Uranus the seventh violet. Knowing where they are in the sky, in which sign, in which palace, explains to you who you are right now. And when you understand that, you understand your place in the special mosaic of the multiverse. The next step is becoming a master of the multiverse. Conclusion: the Druid Master of the Multiverse versus the Catholic children permanently lost in space. So, how does it feel to know a Druidic Jesus, hu-hesus, was documented a whole 64 years prior to the Roman Jesus? Could it be that the Romans wrote a story of their own, using the Druidic Jesus as a model for their Jesus? Could the Roman Jesus be a facsimile of the original Druidic Jesus? Who's to know? But the Roman Jesus increasingly becomes less and less plausible with every exploration of a different culture. You really start to see how wild it is that the world is gripped by a facsimile, and that Nietzsche was right. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people, the abolition of religion as the illusory happiness of the people is the demand for their real happiness. Contrasting Catholicism, Druidry created an empirical path to finding oneself in the grand mosaic of the multiverse, with a hands-off naked eye approach to understand and nurture natures like a master, whereas Catholicism denies and supplants one's nature with mind control that results in children permanently lost in space. If you would like to start your chakra journey anew or again, to do just that, be a master of the multiverse. Join the channel's membership for $4.99 a month, and if you are ready to elevate to a higher level, upgrade to the master level for less than $1 a day. If you do join the master level, email occultsecretsrevealed@gmail.com to get your free study guide, and visit www.occultsecretsrevealed.com. While there, read your entire year's 2025 horoscope for your sign. Reject the Catholic mind control that makes you lost in space, and become initiated to find your place with your Christos Serpent Astronomy Report. Email your request at the previously mentioned email. For less than $5 a day as an initiate, get the answers to all your life's greatest questions, to unravel the greatest mysteries of life like a master of the multiverse. And until next time, trust and believe that it is okay to be you, the most beautiful you there ever was, there is, and that there ever will be. Because you are not a story that can be told twice, and there will never again be a stage for you to perform, but this one, right here, right now. So be you, the most beautiful you.